plate. Apparently it's the case that like when there's rain, everyone shows up at the 10-minute mark and then everything gets overwhelming, but we'll see if that's the case. I'm Michael, the current president of CORE, the Columbia Organization of Rising Entrepreneurs, and I'm beyond excited to introduce our two guest speakers here. We have Judith Thelen and we have Eliot Frost, the co-founders of New York City and Columbia's favorite food rating app, Beli. So give them a round of applause. Awesome. Can you guys hear me here as well? Yeah? Good. So I'm going to give you some context. This is Judith Thelen next to me. She did her undergrad at UMich, majoring in economics, organizational studies with a minor in applied statistics. After graduation, she started as an analyst at McKinsey before getting an MBA at Harvard. Then she went on to co-found Beli in 2020. I know she goes to Harvard, guys, but we can still clap for her, guys. We also have Eliot Frost over here. He majored in philosophy at Pomona with a minor in economics and political science, went to McKinsey as an analyst, and then became a risk and operations manager before also getting an MBA from Harvard. He then co-founded Beli in 2020. You guys have such a similar trajectory there. It's almost like you're married or something. Sweet, so we're just going to get straight into it with a few questions from CORE, and then afterwards we're going to open up to the floor with audience Q&A, and then after that it's the Beli merch giveaway, and then finally the resume drop. But yeah, first question, how did you come up with Beli, this idea of yours? Yeah, they're on. You can take them off.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Hi guys, we are so excited to be here. We love Columbia. Very near and dear to us. So very, very excited.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. This is awesome. Yeah.
So let Eliot answer this one.
I can start it off. So I'll start with something that's probably not super surprising, which is that Judy and I are restaurant obsessed. Really happened since day one. I grew up in New York City. The only thing I ever wanted for a birthday was to try a new restaurant. Used to walk down the sidewalk reading menus on my way home from school. When I was first learning how to code, I got my parents kicked off of Yelp because I was very poorly scraping data into a spreadsheet to try to figure out where to eat. They were not thrilled, but it was a good learning experience for me. Judy's family is also very restaurant oriented, but a little bit different. Her dad's an investor, invests a lot in public restaurant chains. And so their family would go out to eat pretty much every night of the week, but to different Applebee's locations, like Bob Evans, all that, compare line lengths, talk about costs, more on the business side of things. And Judy and I, we are now married, but when we started seeing each other, like many people, really built our relationship around trying new restaurants in the city. And there were kind of two things going on at the time. One was we had this huge Google map of everywhere that we're eating together. It was ranked, color-coded, notes, favorite dishes. Probably sounds a little familiar if you're on the app. But it was just very clear to us it really wasn't built for that purpose. And the other thing we found was that we were very often going to restaurants that were supposed to be really good. They had really great critic reviews, really high 5-star ratings, just not being super happy with them ourselves. And so we kind of had these problems in the back of our minds. And then we went to HBS, and we really started researching the problem. We found a couple things. One was that there were a lot of people like us out there. Pretty much everyone, every foodie we spoke to kept some kind of restaurant list, whether it was in their notes app or a spreadsheet or a doc or a text thread. But there was just no centralized place where everybody was keeping these lists together. And the other thing that we found was that almost none of those people had ever written online reviews in their lives. And so the idea for Beli really became, can we create a great platform for people to keep these restaurant lists, and in doing so accumulate a much higher quality and quantity of data than what the review sites have, and with that do a lot of things that they have not been able to do. And so we're currently at about 40 million restaurant ratings, which makes us the largest restaurant rating platform in New York City, bigger than both Google and Yelp. We're passing them in a bunch of other markets as well, and hoping to be the world's biggest repository of restaurant preferences in not too long.
Awesome. Do you want to follow that up? Or?
No, I think he said most of it. I think for us, this really just came from our love for food, and we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, later, but when you think about building a company, doing something that you're passionate about, like is helpful. It gets you a long ways. And so yeah, everything stemmed from that. And then our relationship was built around that. We worked together, went to business school together, now run a company together. So we've only ever worked together, which some people think we're crazy, but it's actually a big superpower of ours, being able to work with each other. But yeah, no, I think you said everything.
Awesome, great. So all that sounds like a super technical challenge, like amassing all these reviews. Yeah, what was the hardest thing about the founding journey since starting to where you are now?
Yeah, sure. Everything's difficult. Employee number one, Emily's sitting right here, and she could probably attest to that. But I think the most difficult thing for us from day one is the uncertainty. Just never knowing and always solving different problems, and you solve a problem, but then there are a million other problems you need to solve. So we graduated from business school in 2020. We knew we were going to work on Beli full time post business school, and so we were all in. Spring of 2020 hit, the pandemic hit. It was not a time to launch something like this. We weren't sure it was safe to eat out. Most restaurants were closed. And so for about a year, we worked with our heads down. We had like a 100-person beta. It was all of our friends. It's really hard to get good feedback from your friends, but it was a year. And anyway, we fast forward a year when it was like, I don't know, we have jobs. Like, does anyone even want this product anymore? And so we had put out some silly TikToks. They went viral, thousands of signups day one. We didn't even have an app on the App Store, so that was great. But just so much uncertainty, and so I think it was the biggest problem from the start, and still continues to be the biggest problem.
Gotcha. Eliot, do you have anything to add here?
I think the other thing is just that we literally didn't know how to do any aspect of what was required to do a business, and like everything we did.
Don't tell Emily.
No, but yeah, we figured it out. No, it just, you don't know, like, I'd never built an app before, we'd never done social media before, we hadn't, like, filed for incorporation, filed trademarks, like all this stuff that there's no reason you know how to do, but you do have to figure out, and so it's just like every new thing is a new thing you have to learn how to do.
Gotcha. So you mentioned that Beli has way more reviews than both Google and Yelp in terms of restaurants in New York City, and it's only been a few years now. In the next 1 to 5 years, what are your biggest goals with Beli, and what are your steps to achieve them?
Yeah, I mean, we have lots of different goals. When we think about the vision of Beli, we think it should help anyone plan their best day, no matter where they are. And so we think you should be able to be dropped anywhere, and just you open this thing and it tells you exactly how to spend your day, and that will optimize your happiness. Because we have all the opinions that matter in one place. It's yours, your friends, people like you, and there's so much we can do with that. So that's kind of our North Star. And then how we actually think we get there is along 3 different verticals. We think a lot about the dining out journey, we think about geographic growth, and then we think about categorical growth. And categorical growth, that really just means, hey, we started in restaurants, only restaurants. We didn't do bars, coffee shops. For those that have been around for a couple of years, no. And they're all food related, but for us it was like, just be really focused and solve one problem first, and then figure out the rest once we are solving one well. But long term, we think we may go into other categories. Beli, that method applies to a lot of different things, anything you're doing on a regular basis that's somewhat consistent. So potentially that, but that won't be for a while. And so we spend a lot of our time thinking about the geographic and the dining out journey. Geographic growth, the nice thing about Beli is it is a utility. You don't need your friends on it to use it. You can go, keep your list, and that's how we've grown to date. We actually spend almost no dollars on marketing, because if the product isn't leading to growth, if there isn't product-led growth, this doesn't work. And then finally, the dining out journey. This is where we spend all of our time thinking about this aspect of it. And we start at the very beginning and the very end. You hear about a restaurant, you want to go, so you bookmark it. And then you went to the restaurant, and you want to tell your friends about it, and you want to remember it, so you rate it. And the reason we started at those 2 places is, 1, we were competing with notes, docs, Excels, all these tools that actually weren't built for restaurant discovery. And then 2, it's where all the data sits. So now we take all that data, the 40 million ratings, and we try to use that to move in on the dining out journey and help you actually make decisions. Where am I going tonight? Who am I going with? What am I ordering? How am I making the reservation? So very technical, but yeah, that's how we think about growth. Eliot, any?
But you got it.
Great. Very comprehensive answer there. So you guys have a ton of challenges to overcome technically, as you said, managing all that data, 40 million reviews. How do you prepare for that? We have a ton of undergrads in the audience right now, all studying a variety of things, some even poli-sci like you have. You said that you learned how to code after college, is that correct? So yeah, what would you say that the people in the audience should be studying right now? And what advice would you give to your old self if you were talking to your undergrad self?
Yeah, I mean, I studied philosophy and poli-sci and economics, which I really enjoyed and think I got a lot out of. So I think first and foremost, do something that you really find interesting and are going to push yourself and engage with. But I do think that there are a few subjects that we think are really, really useful, pretty much regardless of what you do. I think one of them is statistics. Pretty much everything we do is based on numbers and based on what does the evidence actually tell you, and we think that we can take some statistics. That's great. I mean, computer science is obviously great as well. What would you add?
Yeah, so the obvious, the computer science, the hard technical skills, get them, but the math is so important, and it's worth taking a few stats classes if you're not. And then the other thing that we think is really important is product thinking. It's the thing I see missing from most people we interview, and even just other companies. We talk to other founders and startups. It's a really hard skill, and it's, honestly, I'm old. So, maybe it's taught better in undergrads now, but when I was an undergrad, it wasn't taught well. And just getting those classes, I don't even know what the classes are, if you guys actually have product classes here, or you guys have, designers always are good at it, because they do design thinking, they understand making decisions based on evidence. It seems so obvious, but people just don't get it. They're like, oh, I love the idea of this, this would be so cool, but it's they're the only person that wants that, and no one else wants that, and they don't realize that product would never work. So anything you can do around product, really, really, really helpful.
Awesome. Anything to add, Eliot? Sweet. Okay, so we're going to open it to the floor now. Feel free to ask any question under the sun, whether technical, startup related, or what's your favorite restaurant. I'm going to give this mic off to, Mari here. Sweet.
What are you doing? What do you want?
You guys go.
Oh boy. Oh, I don't like this pressure. Eliot. Popcorn.
All right, I'll do the first one in the back there. Yeah, the blue shirt. Sorry, making you move. Sorry.
Wait, blue shirt and back.
Oh, that's so
Yeah, you,
neat.
yeah, you, yeah, yeah.
Because I have to walk up this microphone.
It's nice to meet you guys. I'm Mateo. My question for you two is, when building an idea and deciding to turn that into a product, how do you start, what are the questions you ask about the general idea of what you're going to create, and then focus on specifics? How do you go through that process of deciding what's at the core of your product and then what features you want to add?
Do you want to go?
Yeah, I can start obviously if you. I think it starts with really just talking to users or your target user. I think really understanding what they're doing today is very important. We collected dozens, if not hundreds, of people's different restaurant lists, and basically just looked at them and were like, okay, what do we notice about them? Do they have the places that they want to go and the places that they've been? How are they differentiating them? Are they checking them off? All these different just observations about what people are doing today. I think that's the most important thing. And then trying to come up with the simplest possible replacement for that. That is maybe at least some improvement on what they're doing today, but doesn't have all the secondary layers of it. I think is a great way to start. And so definitely don't build further than what you're getting feedback on is sort of a big piece of advice. But collect as much information, talk to as many people as you can, collect all the patterns, look at what you're seeing across all these people, and then use that to build kind of the simplest version that you can then put in front of people and get feedback on.
Yeah, I agree. I think start just reiterating what Eliot said at the end. Do not build first. People do it, and you can spend a lot of money and a lot of time building, and then you end up with a product that no one actually wants because it's not based on research. So as long as you can hold off building and doing we sent out surveys that were here's a list of the top 100 restaurants in New York. can you put these in order from your most to least favorite, just to see if people would actually rank restaurants. And the more you can do like that, the better. Talk to as many people as possible. Figure out if there actually is a problem, how big the market is. If you're solving something in food, the market's big. Sometimes
But not that big, it's not space for it.
yeah, but it just make sure it's big enough, and make sure that there aren't solutions out there that do what you're trying to do. If you're like, hey, I love this product, but I want this one feature in it, that's probably not an idea, because your idea really needs to be 10x at least better than the next best product in the market. So yeah, do as much as you can without building, and then build what you have to, and then test and iterate.
Yeah, you. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Introduce yourself before you ask a question.
Hi, my name is Elvin. I got hooked on Beli because of, so I when I go out to eat or when I'm looking for someplace to eat, I always open Beli first, and really only Beli when I'm like in a certain area and I want to find something to eat. And I thought Beli was a really, really interesting and unique recommendation systems platform and a problem that's being addressed in a really, really unique way. Like, for example, other recommendation systems out like Netflix, Spotify, etc. The data is for a specific user to try to figure out what their taste is a really hard challenge, but Beli's in a really unique scenario where every single user has an ordered list of every single one of their preferences, and I think that's really, really high quality data that Beli is taking advantage of to find really, really high quality recommendations for certain
I
restaurants.
love this guy. Thank you.
So I was kind of wondering what directions you're taking and how you're planning to expand this kind of opportunity for like perfect recommendations. I mean, I find myself on your features or feature list of like certain cuisines or certain locations, but do you have plans to expand this even further, make even better recommendations, more customized recommendations, and kind of what factors are you looking at when making these recommendations themselves that are different from other recommendation apps?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. Yeah, very well said. I think for us, we actually think Beli's a horrible recommendation app today. And it's purposefully that way to an extent. For us, we wanted all of our users to be active. And everyone said to us, hey, no, that's just not how social media works. Like 1% of the people are gonna create the content, everyone else is gonna consume it. We're like, no, this is a utility. Like everyone needs to participate because we need to know something about you in order to give you very good recommendations. So if you go on Beli and you don't create a list, kind of sucks. It's horrible. And so we did that. We want everyone participating, and then now what we want to do is spend all of our time giving you really good recommendations through participating in the app. And so yeah, there'll be a lot there. Explore will be the biggest category of changes you'll see in the app. There should be an Explore page. You should actually be able to do, we don't even consider ourselves a recommendation platform right now. We're a social restaurant list keeping app. I don't know what that means, but anyway, yeah, a lot of changes coming there because we have all this great data now, and it's how do we give it back to our users, and we think it's beyond just restaurants. We also we know what people you're similar to, and we can connect you with other people, and there are a lot of really cool things we can do with it.
No, yeah, I think the Explore stuff is the big, kind of always been what we want to build to, but we kind of wanted to start with solving the sort of the Notes app problem and use that as like the bridge to Explore. I think things like adding the reservation partnerships, like with OpenTable and Seven Rooms, is a step in that direction, like making it more of that thing that you pull out when you're actually planning the meal. So we were excited about that.
Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. My name is Mashawn. I'm a sophomore at Columbia College, and I'm interested in consulting. So I was wondering, what have you kind of gained from McKinsey and going to business school that you were able to transfer to create your own startup?
For sure. So I'll give the disclaimer. So at McKinsey, we weren't consultants. They have an internal hedge fund, and so I was trading commodities. So pretty random. And essentially, it's a funny fund because it's all ex-consultants, and then they use that approach to invest. Yeah, lots of thoughts. getting exposure to a lot of different things is really helpful, and I think both consulting and business school do that. Like you just get to see, like HBS is all based on the case method, and so what you do is you read like hundreds and hundreds of cases about, and each one's on a different company, and all of a sudden you have this massive knowledge base of like, you can talk about kind of anything, and most of it's bullshit, but like you can just say, sorry guys, I don't have a filter. You have a high level knowledge of so many different things, and like that's really, really useful, because then when you're going to build something, you need all these different skills. You need to be the PM, the software engineer, the marketer, the lawyer, the whatever. You've seen it all, and so that's great and really, really helpful. I think you can get a lot of that education through building, so I don't think it's necessary, but I do think it gives you exposure. It also, maybe you disagree, but I think you also start to figure out what you like and what you don't like because of that exposure. And so you can be like, hey, I thought I really loved this type of role or this type of company, but I hate it, and like I don't want to spend my time there. So I think, yeah, the exposure for me is the number one benefit. I don't know. Also, the network is good.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us in particular, it was, business school was a good place to start a company because it was kind of felt low risk. Like we're not like actually big risk takers, despite the fact that, you know, 2 members of our family are, you know, both working on the same thing. But like, it was sort of like we'd already left our roles and we're like in this environment where you could sort of try something, and if it failed, you could give up. So I mean, something you always say, you know, for you all, like in school, trying things in school is a really cool, like good thing to do, because it's lower risk. Like you can try something and fail, and you guys are all going to get great jobs. So it has that benefit too.
Thank you so much.
I will, sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Alex Denuzzo. I'm a junior here at the College of Engineering, or School of Engineering, whatever. I was wondering, sort of, when you were in those early stages and thinking about building out an actual product, like you'd done some of that initial testing with those surveys and had a decent idea that something like what you were thinking about would work. How did you actually go about building that initial MVP? How did you refine that? At what point did you decide, okay, we're going to actually like invest in building up the skills required to actually build out an app? Sort of all of that stuff in that early stage where it's slightly proven, but not all the way.
Yeah, I think I think there's a lot you get out of the testing phase and trying to find like lo-fi, non-app ways to do it. But ultimately, if your product is going to be an app, you do kind of need to get to that stage relatively quickly. And I think I had never built an app before. Like I was coding in this like sort of hedge fund environment, but like I had to learn how to, you know, even do like a basic app. So I spent a fair amount of time, like the first summer we were working on it, just like doing tutorials and learning how to do that. And then as quickly as I could sort of shift that toward that very, very tiny MVP. Like literally it was just like the ugliest looking lists on a page, like that like would crash all the time. Like just like, it was terrible.
It didn't even save people's lists.
Yeah, it was useless. But like enough so that you could at least like show it to someone and like watch them like, you know, struggle with it. And that's honestly like, at that point it's already worth doing it. As soon as it's like something that you can hand to someone, it's worth doing it, I think. But then just don't keep working on it until you've seen like what people are struggling with.
Okay, so at what level, or like how developed was your product when you did the beta test with like your 100 friends?
Not developed at all.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Like it wasn't ready to go on the App Store, and so it honestly was to our benefit that like we kind of had to like pause. Like we had a lot of time to just sort of iron out kinks before like we started putting out the like TikTok videos and stuff. So yeah.
But the flip side of that is like, if we had put our app on the App Store at that point in time,
don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah, we would have gotten terrible reviews. Like the bar for apps functioning is like pretty high. Like people don't realize it, but like a lot goes into like all these social media platforms working very well. And so consumers have been trained to expect that. And so if you go in the App Store and whatever, your app just does not work, you're gonna get horrible reviews, and people are forgiving and nice, and the Beli community is so awesome, they forgive us for a lot, but I wouldn't put that on the App Store, but if you have people you can get feedback from, do it. We started on test flight, that was the first 100 users, and then actually when we launched, when I said, we put out that social media video, it was also on test flight. We added one to test flight, it only lets you add so many people, 5 or 10,000 people, so we did that, and that was really, really helpful.
Thank you.
Okay, the woman on the woman here on the aisle,
With the-
and then the woman over there. Okay, sorry, one on the beanie, and then the one on the sunglasses. Sorry. You're supposed to pick.
Thank you. I'm Hillary and I'm a senior at Columbia. I'm not so sure if you guys did decide to raise, but if you did, what was your process of doing so? Because I think especially a B2C app in a really competitive space is just really hard. And I'm a founder myself and I'm just looking for advice if you have any.
Yeah, it's a good question. Raising is, we approach it a lot differently than many other companies. We were fortunate enough, honestly, part of starting in school, the school actually gave us a lot of money. So that actually seeded us, and then we did a friends and family. And we like running super, super lean. It keeps priorities very straight. We know, today we're a team of 4, that's it. We should be more than that, but we stay very lean.
3 of us are here.
Yes,
So.
yeah. You got 75% of the team here. So we did that, we got the money from school, then we raised the friends and family, and then we actually were able to prove out that Beli worked before we needed money, and then through doing that, all the VCs came to us. So if you can do that, and that's a luxury, but if you can do that, that's the easiest way, because your scarcest resource as a founder is your time, right? There's only so many hours in a day, and so if you could be working on product or going and talking to VCs, that's a hard trade-off, and probably the product is the right decision, but if you need the money, you need the money. And so that's the question I'd be asking yourself, can I get another day working on product to prove that this thing actually works and is good, or do I need the money today and then go spend time doing it? I'm sure you have a lot more thoughts here.
Mostly the same thoughts. Yeah, I think the product being better is going to make the conversations easier. I mean, especially doing cold outreach to VCs is very time consuming, and I don't think very effective. So at least if they're reaching out to you, then that their interest is there, and so it's just a good time management thing. I also think this is not really about VC, but I think it does come to who your co-founder is, and we definitely think that it's great if the founding team can progress the product a lot on their own, because what you really need funding for is to hire people, to actually make sure other people have jobs, and so if you can put that off, then you usually won't need. This is also all very consumer specific. If you're doing something B2B that requires a lot of capital, this is all completely different. But I just think for what we're talking about, it's good if you can build it yourselves.
And then we'll do the sunglass watch.
Hi, my name is Renee. I love Beli, and there's one thing about me is that I'm an international student, so it means that I'm traveling back and forth from New York and back to Malaysia all the time. And since I'm using the app all over the world, I also noticed it's not available on the App Store outside of the US, because every time I recommend it to my friends, they're like, this is such a cool concept, but I can't get it. So I just wanted to know your plans for global growth and what steps you want to take towards that.
Yeah, it's a good question. So we are on most app stores. We're not available in Asia. And a lot of that comes down to, because we run so lean, we want to do what we're doing well, and there's no translations in the app. Honestly, until recently, even if you were in Europe, it was still showing you $ signs, and we were putting everything in miles. And so very basic things we just weren't doing. And so it's just a capacity issue. And so, yeah, lots of plans to expand. I think, is it just Asia? What other countries are not?
Mostly that. I mean, and partially because we use
And-
Google API for search, so also like where they have coverage. So it's something that we're like thinking about. What's kind of our? I don't think that's necessarily may not be an issue in Malaysia, but there are places where that's like a thing we think about. Ultimately, we like the idea of it working everywhere because we don't feel like we have the same cold start problem that some platforms do, because people can use it kind of individually and like keep their lists, and it's obviously works better and is better with friends on it, but like we still feel comfortable with people using it even if they're like the only one in the whole city doing it.
He's wearing a belly
Belly
hat.
hat,
We
yeah.
have to,
I don't need a microphone. Hi, I'm also Eliot. I also study philosophy, actually.
Love that.
I was wondering what your plans for profitability are.
Oh,
I
sorry.
think we just start with revenue first, but we mostly are pre-revenue. Mostly we do tests. Everything we do is tests. In that way, back to the investor point, if you can prove that we've done something that has worked, even if it's not at scale, that goes a long way. Long story short is we're not entirely sure, but there are a lot of really interesting things we can do that other platforms are not able to do. I think for us, like, we do not want you ever going into the app and questioning whether or not something is actually recommended or paid for. Trust is so important to us. You'll never see like in-feed ads, like very much not what we're looking to do. But there are a few different things. So we have Beli Supper Club. It's a membership, and that is premium app features and in-person events. Love it. We're honestly not even scaling it right now because the team is 4 and we want the product to be good. But that's one thing. We think the data will be important, but it's how is it important? Like, how can we use the data and make money off of it in a way that actually helps our users is what we think about a lot. And so are there cool ways to connect restaurants with users, not through in-feed ads, but we know everyone who wants to try a restaurant. Like, if that restaurant did something with those people, that could be cool. We know everyone who loves a restaurant, everyone who would love a restaurant if they knew about that restaurant. So there are a lot of really cool things there. I don't know if there's other.
Yeah, I mean, I think we also, we're starting to do more stuff with partnerships, like starting with the reservation stuff, and we want Beli to be kind of a centralized place to like do all these different things related to dining, whether it's making a reservation or like ordering delivery or like planning an event. And I think a lot of that will also give us monetization opportunities where like if all of the really big foodies are using Beli, then like all these different companies that want to reach those people are going to want to kind of plug into it, whether it's credit card companies, like things like that as well. So for us, like number one priority is just like we want to make the product as good as we can, and we aren't going to do anything to try to make money before like that's going to compromise the user experience. But there are things that are aligned, like that will can make money while also improving the product. So that's usually where we try to focus.
Yeah, hi, my name is Beli, and I'm a junior in Columbia College, also studying political science and economics. I was wondering that given Beli runs on a very lean team, there's still so many responsibilities from running a social media account to developing new features. How does your team decide what are the immediate priorities from a day-to-day basis? And is there even a typical day or week routine that your team would follow?
I could say no to the last one. I was literally just complaining to Emily, like, no matter what, even today, like 10 super important things came up before this, and this was the thing today. So, there's not a typical day, and it's not unusual, like, for a Sunday. We work 24/7, the team works 24/7, everyone's working really, really hard. In terms of priorities, the nice thing about if you're actually listening to your users, the priorities are pretty clear. They tell you what they want, and like we hear over and over and over again what people want in the app. And whatever we're hearing the most that we think is aligned with growth and whatever, we will do. And so that's pretty much what we're doing. It's just like what are our users telling us, do that. In terms of social media, whatnot, Eliot probably has some thoughts. I'll let Eliot answer that.
Well, I mean, we've decided that social media is really important for Beli. like that's a big part of how we grew to begin with. Now it's much more driven by the app than by social media, but we do think it's a cool, like we just love restaurants, and like we would already be doing this and going out to all these places, and we think it's really a nice way to reach people that's different from the app. Like it's, you know, it's really visual, you know, you can really like, you know, talk about the restaurants and show people the restaurants, and
support the restaurants.
Support the restaurants, you know, we really like that. It's like a positive way to interact with restaurants. So we think it's important. We've missed probably like 5 or 10 days in the last like 3 years on social. We post a video every day, so we definitely make that a priority.
What are we posting today? No, we don't know yet.
It's always last minute.
Yeah,
top 5 dining
that
halls.
would be awesome.
Yeah, there's some good dining hall data. I've looked at it one time.
I don't know how you guys have managed to do it, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
We've literally gotten emails from schools being like, hey, like, I noticed that for Columbia, all their dining halls are on the app, but like, you don't have our dining halls. Like, you guys are. We're like, we didn't.
I didn't put them there, but.
Are you?
Right here. Hi, my name is Oscar. I'm doing computer science and math at Columbia. Been trying to launch products for a year now. Had my YC interview 2 months ago. And I'm also going off the feeling that whatever we build for your users should be a product you build for yourself, trying to solve your own problem. And I love that you started doing the same thing, and it's obvious that you have a great founder market fit. What I think is this problem only started hurting whenever I came to New York. So it's very specific to New York. What do you think is going to be a strategy regarding scaling to other markets, to smaller cities, and how are you going to transform your product to fit those markets?
Yeah, it's a question we get a lot. Just like, you know, is New York very different from the rest of the world? And I mean, obviously, in some ways, yes. But I think what we've overwhelmingly found is that people just love food and are really excited about.
Everyone eats.
Everyone eats. Well, yeah, that's important. And I think like we see actually pretty similar behaviors everywhere. Like we have probably like 5,000 different home cities, and like metrics or like, you know, what people are actually doing in the app is like pretty similar across all of them. Yeah, there's like more density of restaurants here, but I think that the consistency of like, oh, I want to try a new place, so I'm gonna like go to the next town, I'm gonna try the new place that opened up. That behavior is, luckily for us, pretty consistent. I think now that we're thinking a lot more globally, we're definitely interested in learning how these places are different. Like, how is London different from New York? Like, how is like reservation culture? Like, there are different parts that are definitely different, but I think the core underlying interest in trying new restaurants is actually pretty global. Yeah.
So you mentioned that trust is centered to customer experience. So I'm just curious how you prevent bots and the paid commentary from reducing the credibility of the recommendation results.
Yeah. So we think a lot about data quality across like different dimensions. Some of them like security and preventing bias. I think the fact that we're just an app is actually a big part of that. We think that the like Google's and Yelp's struggle to prevent fake ratings, partly because they're like these huge web platforms that are a little bit easier to interact with, and then also because the behavior is very common of like you just write like one-star review and then you just like disappear. Whereas like Beli, that like you can't do that. Like those ratings actually don't go anywhere. Like it doesn't impact anything until you reach a certain point. So we try to just like create trust by basically not trusting things until it's sort of proven that somebody's like really a real user. So that's part of it.
Yeah, it's a lot easier with how we're structured to, one, prevent fake ratings, because you have to go in there and like you have to be like, if someone got like a comped meal, or, and this is why we don't do this with social media, but if you get a comp meal or whatever, like you would have to actually say like, hey, I like this better than other places I've been to, and that's actually a hard threshold to get over as a person. Like we'll see, someone say something somewhere, and then on Beli it'll be like something completely different because they're, this is a utility, this is their list, it's authentic to them. And then in terms of like bots or things going in there, it's actually really easy to detect fake data because we have the list. Yeah. Both you guys can go.
Hi, my name is Margot, and I'm a freshman at Barnard College, but I am looking to study computer science. My question is, well, obviously, like, Beli has had great growth in the last couple of years, but success is not perfect. In addition to the highs that you guys faced, what are some of the lows that you guys faced, and like, what kind of mindset did you have to have in order to overcome any hurdles you faced in your journey with Beli?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I hope we're not giving the impression that this has just been like a walk in the park, because it's certainly not been that. I think every day is a battle. And it's like, and I'm probably the worst on the team about this, but like I don't get like super excited about the wins, and I'm always fixated on like what we're doing wrong, and we're doing everything wrong all the time. I think when people are like, oh, what are the biggest mistakes you guys have made? Like they don't stick out in my mind because like we're constantly like, if I put out a feature, we test it and the test isn't good, we drop it. And so it's just like, and it's, you do that over and over and over again, so there are thousands of them. So yeah, it's definitely not a walk in the park. Every day is a battle. Every day it's also, as founders, it's if we're not doing something, something's not getting done, and it's really hard to get past that mentality and like get to a good balance in life. We don't handle balance. Emily can attest to that. Yeah, we don't handle balance, and so I think there are a lot of things that we just do not do well that we still need to work on. I don't know more.
Yeah, it's. I think we're always feeling a little bit insecure. I think a constant feeling of like, people like us today, or like the app today, and tomorrow they're gonna hate it. Like you never know. It's very yeah. So you just try to keep improving it. That mentality of like, don't get too hung up on like the things starting to turn down. Just like figure out how to push things back up.
Hi, my name is Jay, and I'm a freshman in industrial engineering. And my question for you guys is like, if you could go back to like when you had that initial idea, what do you think are like 3 like lessons or like inspirations that helped you go from like that idea into like product?
It's a good question. So I think I'll answer this in one way. Maybe this won't answer your question, so I'll let Eliot also answer. I think when you're starting something, everyone wants to give you their opinion, especially if you're doing something that's like something that they have some knowledge in, or they feel they have some knowledge in, and everyone feels like they have experience in eating. They do, right? And so everyone's going to tell you what they think, and it's good to listen to all of it, but like most of it is like discard, and that's fine, and they don't know what they're talking about. And so I think where we were like most frustrated when we started was when we had like professors or something being like, no, you're doing this all wrong, and they were just completely wrong because they had no experience in this area, like a B2B or whatever, and like they meant well, and it was just completely wrong. So I think being able to better like take advice and then just discard it would have been really helpful. Not really answering your question. I like you a better.
I feel like we're just kind of answering like stuff we did wrong, which like, I mean, I think.
Talk more about that.
Yeah, sure. I definitely got like very build happy at the beginning, and when something got really excited and like would start building things, and you'd be like, that's not based on anything. You just made that because you wanted to, and that we had to like keep backtracking a bunch, and like that was like not obviously time well spent. So just really living by that idea of like, don't build beyond like what you need to test.
Yeah, but I think the other things that we talked about earlier are really important, so I'll bring them up again. One that I don't know we touched on a lot, but like starting something with a co-founder, if you have a good co-founder, is really helpful. You want to have a bunch of skill sets across couple people, and so for us, like Eliot being technical, and me just, I guess, being along for the ride,
Being
you
like
know.
all of everything.
But it was helpful, and then to have someone that like I so fully trust and could, you know, we could give each other very open and honest feedback, like really, really helpful. It was like, you know, Eliot would build this thing, I'd be like, that's terrible, what's wrong with you, like, do it again. And so like, but like, probably, you know, some filter probably is required, but having someone you really, really trust was actually really, really, really helpful. And then I think the other things that were really helpful were the product classes, because we came from finance. We just had no idea on how to start a company, and so like the product classes really, really helped a lot. And then because we were both like very quantitative people, that was really, really helpful. Yeah, those are the things.
Someone toward the back.
Okay, yeah, let's do in the glasses, yeah. Sorry, I wish I had better scripters.
Hi, I'm Jamal. Thanks for coming. I'm a huge fan of the app. Like one of the top 30 users at Columbia, so I use it a lot. I love to eat out, but one of the things that I've noticed about using like the product is that it doesn't really incentivize restaurant loyalty. You know, it's always about finding a new place, the viral place, what looks good on Instagram. So I was wondering if that's been like a concern that you guys have, or if that is like how you're thinking to address it.
Yeah, it's a good question. We have lots of thoughts on it. There's like the business perspective, like the restaurant business perspective, and then like the exploration user perspective. So for us, we really wanted something that pushed people to try more things. And I think Beli does that, right? Like the leaderboards, all this, like we hear constantly that like people won't go back to the same place because they can't record it on Beli, and what's the point? I think that's probably a little bit extreme, and we don't necessarily want to encourage that behavior, but we think it's very, very cool, especially in a city like New York, but it happens in a lot of places. The diversity in food is so awesome, and so getting people to push them out of their comfort zones and try things that maybe they wouldn't have before, like we think is awesome. Really, really, really cool. And we also, a little bummed to hear that just viral social, like the hot places, which I totally get. But we also hope that like the nice thing about Beli is because the recs are personalized, like the app could send you to one place that's completely different than where it sends me, so we can actually spread people out better than what like a Yelp or Google that's just giving one score to everyone can. So we do actually, we pride ourselves on that and want to make sure that we're doing that. But I totally get your point. The restaurant perspective is a little bit different, and one that we are constantly thinking through, because the restaurants make their money off of the long-term customers. It's not worth it so much for people that go in once and never go back. And so with Beli, we also do want to help restaurants, and that aspect of it doesn't necessarily do that, which is why now you can add visit dates. And we love I would love if like in the feed it told me, you know, someone went to whatever restaurant for their 50th time, like that would be cool. And so like maybe that will be in the app, but yeah, there's more we'll do there. I think we haven't done the loyalty part well. We think about it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think everything you said, obviously I agree with. Yeah, I think if we start to figure out how to use that to also better advise other people, I think that's where we'll really like want to invest in it too. It's like the fact that somebody goes to the same place over and over and over again, like gives you a lot of information about how they feel about it and like what use case it plays for them. So I think. But
it also like it could be that they could be weighted higher in a recommendation for you. Like the expert of that restaurant probably should be more important than someone who just went once and had a one. Who knows? Anyway. Yeah.
So I think we'll naturally kind of have to do a better job of it as we do more explore. But yeah, I think it's something where you can tell we're kind of actively thinking through.
Sorry to interrupt, but Thank you. Okay, so we have time for just one more question, and please make it short because we have to do a merch drop. Would you like to choose wisely on the last question? I see. Great.
Hi, Hi, thank you so much. My name is Tiffany. I did architecture here undergrad, and now I'm doing my master's in computer science because I love to build. Part-time I work as an AI engineer, and I'm wondering, like, with all these advancements in generative AI, but also like on-device AI, so AI that runs on your phone, like, do you have any like plans on like implementing or improving your algorithms? Because recommendation systems and labeling has been such a huge thing now with like all the advancements that we're having, and I do that work every day and I love it. And Beli has such great data so that you could really utilize the data in a way that is super thoughtful for the user and the user experience. So yes, I would love to just understand a little bit more about like any future like and fun plans using AI.
No, it's a good question. One that obviously comes up more and more as the industry shifts, but and trends change. But for us, it was something that we were thinking about from day one. But it was always like, hey, we need to be collecting the right data. And what was very clear to us, we ran actually like a 6-month project with like an ML expert at Harvard who to analyze like the 5-star data. And what was really interesting is you actually can't derive preferences from it. And so for us, it was really, really important. We're like garbage in, garbage out. Like we have to have the right data. And then once we have the right data, there are so many cool things we can do. I'll let you go.
Yeah, I think we're excited to start like using these tools more. I think we have kind of deprioritized it behind just like continuing to build the community. We think, you know, extension of Judy's point is just the quantity and the quality of the data is always going to be the driver of the quality of the recommendations, even as the recommendation models get better. And so, you know, obviously you don't want to wait too long where somebody else like really prioritizes that aspect of it and they make a really good explore, chat, whatever. But we think that because we will have the best data, that will kind of give us the opportunity to do that when we think the time's right. We think a lot about, like, Judy kind of talked about this before, but we don't want passive users. Like we want people to build their list. We want it to be about your like exploration of restaurants. And if you make it so easy for people to just be like, where should I go tonight? And like they didn't have to do anything, then you're not actually incentivizing them to like really participate in what we think is like the main activity of the app. But yeah, that's
a lot coming.
Yeah.
I mean, with Explore, it's going to be there. It's definitely important. Yeah.
And your data is so, and you care a lot about data, which is good.
Thank you.
Awesome. So that was all the questions. Thanks for peppering them with questions. They have these heavyweight embroidered Beli hoodies. Oh yeah, a ton of them in here. And we're gonna be giving out the first to Beli super users in the audience. So here's the merch giveaway, get ready. If you have more than this many places on Beli that you've been to, stand up. Stand up. It's a good signal there. Good work. Okay. Get your Beli apps out. Awesome. I just checked it. We need to stay quiet for this, so we can count this. If you don't have more than 50, sit down. Sit down, yeah. Oh, that's some of you guys. If you don't have more than 60, sit down. 70, sit down if you don't have more than that. Jeez. If you don't have more than 80, sit down. If you don't have more than 100, sit down. Wow. If you don't have more than 120, down. 150. That was a lot. Jeez. 170. Fun. We're going to 200 now. If you don't have more than 200, sit down. 220. Wow, you guys. 250. We're gonna check, by the way, so if you lie, you're gonna get embarrassed. 270. 290. Alright, good. Alright, we're gonna go to 300 now. Jeez. How many do you have?
308.
308? Going up to 308, everyone. Okay. How many? What's? 600? Who? Okay, 600. Who has more than 600? Alright, 650. 800? We're gonna check, guys. We're gonna check. How many do you have? Someone check that. Someone check that, please. You have to show me. Golly, 873.
What's your username? I gotta follow you.
BS. Now I'm questioning it.
Congrats. You cannot win this next challenge. But the next one is, how many followers do you have on Beli? Come on, guys. Let's see. Well, we're gonna start high now. If you have over 50, stand up. 50, 50. If you have over 75, okay. Over 100. Over 150. Gotcha. How many followers do you have on Beli?
165.
Wow. What's your name? Time to verify. Jeez, you're so far.
Thank you.
Sorry, guys. All right, 165 it is.
Thank you
Great
so
work.
much.
I only have 15. You guys can add me on Beli. It's Michael Roberson. And highest current streak. Week streak. I guess I'll start at like 3 or so. How many short streaks do you have left? Okay. Yeah, we do have hats. Sorry. Who has? I mean, this might be tough because everyone might have the same number of streaks. Should we skip this one? Because I feel like it'll be multiple winners, right? It won't make sense. We have another one, don't worry. Who has been the earliest member of Beli here? Okay. Has anyone been before November 2023? Stand up if you have. That's a lot of people. Who joined Beli in 2022? 2022. Okay. We're gonna have to go month by month now. January? Or why am I starting at January? Sorry, December? Okay. We're gonna skip October. Anyone in May? Okay, we're gonna sorry, we're gonna go up. Anyone in, did I say October? September, sorry, let's say September. August? Anyone before August? June. Okay. Oh, what about you? Play rock, paper, scissors. Yeah. Highest streak. Okay, great work, guys.
Oh, no.
Who has the highest streak?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Between you two.
Scissors!
Ready to start?
I said rock.
I say we give it to him. I say we give it to him. Let's give it to him. He's the former president of Columbia. Good stuff. Can I verify that as well? Awesome. Great. Congrats. We have some more hats left. Are we just throwing them up? Do we just throw them? Right. I say we throw them.
I don't want anyone to get hurt.
I think they'll be fun. You guys should throw them. Who wants them back?
Come to the back row. Come to the back
We have stickers for everyone else. Yeah, no, you can come down. So, again, everyone, thank you so much for Judith Thelen and Eliot Frost for coming out. We'll have Emily Ginsberg up here to ask any questions about becoming an intern or working full-time. You can
Thank you
check
guys
the
so
resume
much.
as well.
Thank you guys so much for coming. This was amazing. Thank you.
And there are free stickers at the table
Yeah,
as well.
lots of stickers up here too.
Thank you so much for coming.
Michael did a good job. Who mainly helps
It's still going on. Yeah. I think I'm gonna wait a little bit till. It's so good. Yes, it is. It's still going on. I'm waiting for everyone to like walk out. I wanted to take a picture of them with Michael and Ron. Yeah, we should. Where is Michael and Ron? The thing is, they're like everyone's trying to talk to them right now, so obviously we can't do it right now. I think it's a person. Right? Yeah. Okay, I don't know where they are. Let me stop recording now.